Welcome to Tell Me Your Story, New Paradigms for a New World. I'm Richard Dugan, your host, and it is with great pleasure that I introduce to you folks a gentleman who is returning. I hope it's not for the last time, but you just never know what the universe has in store for each one of us. We have returning to our program, Dr. Richard London, and we are going to be having a very interesting conversation with him because he is going to be sharing with a large number of people through a very special venue that you will probably be able to participate in, to be a part of, that is coming up very soon. So we hope that that you will stay tuned to this program. Dr. Richard London, it's been a long time. You're looking great, and I'm still flabbergasted at the fact that you, if the folks who are watching on YouTube could see you right now, they would say, no way. There's absolutely no way this man.
No operations, no arrugas. My skin is like a baby's ass.
Well, we will certainly not slap it to make you cry. You're doing fine breathing in any event. But thank you for joining us again. It's really a pleasure to have you with us.
So, how you're in Santa Barbara, right?
That's correct. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been to Santa Barbara hundreds and hundreds of times over the last 90 years.
Incredible. And you've also traveled the world. And yes. My father made it to the age of 91 and certainly went through a lot of changes from 1931 to March 1st of last year. So you have also seen the world change. And I'm not sure I want to use the word and evolve, because usually when we think of evolution, we think of forward progress in more of a constructive way. However, recognizing especially the Eastern philosophies of, especially in India, of destruction and creation, because you can't have one without the other, birth and death. You can't have one without the other. This process has been going on long before man's existence. But what would you say as we get started here, because you have a special event coming up? What would you say would be your overall observation of what you have seen and observed and experienced as you have traveled the world and met literally thousands and thousands of people?
Hundreds of thousands of people.
Hundreds of thousands. Where would you say that we are? Because there are those who say that we've been through 5 human extinction events, and some are even saying that we're headed for number 6. And I'm an optimist, and I'm saying, no, we're gonna figure it out. And I don't know that I'm right. I'm no prophet, but I'm an optimist. Share with us your observations of where we are today.
Well, we are an experiment. Humans are an experiment on planet Earth, with the sole purpose of creating peace on this earth. Now, the energy known as God is very happy with the progress of humans over the last 100,000 years. Humans have progressed, even though we've had wars and hundreds of millions of people have died, because people are getting what I call, see, there are 2 types of people on earth. There are humans and there are people who are spiritual. They're completely different people. If you're too human, that means you're vibrating very low. Just to give you an idea what the difference is. A normal person walking around Santa Barbara vibrates at about 230. That's a human vibration. A spiritual person, I vibrate in the millions of the trillions. So if you're not vibrating 500,000 or a million, then you're very human. And there's nothing wrong with being a human, doing human things. But your soul in your heart has to be spiritual. As an example, I've created over 50,000 miracles in my life. Every day I create sometimes tens of real solid miracles. How many miracles have you created in your life?
I wouldn't even know how to. We'd have to define what a miracle is in order for me to say that in terms of what I've accomplished in my life. I guess
Okay.
that's where I'm at.
Okay, here's an example of a human miracle. I'm in front of a store I've never been ever in my life. And I say to my wife, I want to buy everything for 90% discount or more. I walk into the store I've never been, in a location I've never been. Within seconds, the general manager of the store comes over and says, everything in this section is 90% off. It's not marked. When you take it to the counter, they'll give you 90% off. And I bought lots of things at 90% off. Now, this has happened hundreds and hundreds of times. That's a human example. So how did I do it, Richard?
You tell me. I don't know.
Okay. The process of creating miracles is taking, when you're really spiritual and you have a high vibration, I have a tremendous amount of electromagnetic energy. So I can create atoms. And then I channel my energies on specific atoms to do specific things. Like that was moving energy, actually moving energy to a person I had never met in this lifetime before. Yes.
Mm.
I was a treasure hunter for 60, 70 years. And I've found over $20 million in treasures, just as a hobby, not as an endeavor.
Mm-hmm.
And that was all moving energies. I bought art from Chagall, Monet for $1. $1. Some valued in the hundreds of thousands of dollars. It's not luck. See, the majority of people in the world want to create luck in their life. What you want to do is be able to create a vibration so high, you create everything that you desire in your life.
Mm.
Everything. Down to little tiny little things that you need. See, that's one of the event that I'm doing is you understand what fail safe means.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yes.
Okay. So on this planet right now, there are two lists. There is a emerald list of the people who are going to be in the future. And then there's a darker list with people who will perish. So according to the universe, right this second, 6,300,000,000 people will perish. And approximately 1,200,000,000 people in the entire world will be in the future.
Mm.
That future could be in 20 days. Yeah.
Mm.
Or 50 days, or 100 days, or years. Nobody knows the exact date of the things that are going to transpire. Because as humans, as you know, there's a lot going in the world today, right?
Oh, yes.
Lots. More than you and I have ever seen in our life. This is more dangerous than World War I, World War II, and the stock market crash of 1929. Yes. Because there's so many players, some playing well, some not playing well. So what your listeners need, what people need, is they need the truth, what really, really needs to happen in their own lives so they can move forward and then make the correct decisions. So here's an example. My entire life, I always make the correct decision. How do you like that? Always. 100% of the time.
Okay.
That's done by being extremely intuitive. So as an example, when I walk down the street, I know what's going to happen ahead. Always. I know seconds ahead of everything I do. One time, my wife wanted me to take apart a curtain. And I says, if I take it apart this time, we won't be able to take it apart the second time. We'll have to call a carpenter. So she wanted me to take it apart the second time. We had to call a carpenter. If I put a screwdriver in a screw, I know exactly what's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
That makes me very, very powerful.
You know, you raise some very interesting elements here that I want to address. And the first is, and we've been talking about this since 2019, September of 2019. I began promoting something that you have already alluded to, and I want to go there first. We've been asking people during that first year, which was 2020, the year of perfect vision, as we like to call it, 2020. And then when it went away, we went into the decade of perfect vision, the 2020s, asking people to spend some time going within to that quiet, peaceful, calm, still place and listen to that still small voice. I personally refer to that still small voice as my friend. And over the years, I have developed the element of trust. That was the first thing I had to sort of realize, that what was the point of doing that if I didn't trust and follow the promptings, as I put it. And that's what you're talking about. But you learned, or you just accepted from a very early age, that that's something I darn well better listen to and follow. Am I correct?
Yes. Let me explain.
Please.
My mother and father were incapable of being mothers and fathers to a child like myself. So at 4 years old, God said, do not listen to your parents, do not listen to your teachers, do not listen to the priests, rabbis, so forth. So I listened always to that intuition that you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
But what that is, so my soul is billions of years old. As an example, humans know Jesus Christ for 2,000 years. The energy known as Christ for billions of years.
Mm-hmm.
See, according to all the masters of the universe, I'm the oldest soul on planet Earth. That's why I've invited MaryMagdalen, Mary, Jesus, Saint Germain, Michael. I know all the archangels for a long, long time as energy, not a human body. So everything you're talking, I'm looking at you today, and I remember talking to you years back, and you're so much more spiritual. So what your experience really happened December 22nd, 2012. So December 22nd, 2012, God was making a decision prior to create two earths, one spiritual, one human. In God's wisdom, God created one earth. So what God had to do was put everybody's negative imprinted memory. Mm-hmm. So every time someone experiences life, human life, they create negative imprinted memory and positive imprinted memory. So all that negativity was put into people's souls. It's like an alcoholic. You have to reach the bottom in order to move forward. So since December 22nd, 2012, which is approximately 12 years this December 22nd. Humans have been experienced the lowest of their life and the highest of their life. See, this whole process, really simple. It's to do one thing: increase your vibration. That's why I'm doing the truth.com event. Because in this event, you're going to increase your vibration. If you vibrate at 80, so let me give you an example. Serial killers, you know what their vibration is? 0. They have no vibration whatsoever. Imagine being on planet Earth and not having one vibration.
Wow.
Not one.
Wow.
So I can't believe it. Richard, when I first met you, living in Santa Barbara and being close to water helps in the transformation from a human person to a spiritual person. My parents were human. Your parents were human as well. My grandparents were human. Not to say that they were good or bad. This is not about being good or bad.
That's just where they were.
That's just the way that they were. But now, since a terrorist, their souls weigh 500 grams to 1,000 grams, their soul. It has that much negative imprinted memory. A normal soul weighs about 21 grams.
Yeah.
Imagine carrying a soul that's 1,000 grams. That's a low vibration.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember, I had the largest spiritual center in the world, millions of people, millions. Everybody said, you need to be a guru and all this stuff. I wasn't interested in controlling people's lives. I was interested in transforming people's lives into spiritual beings. We did a test, and you're going to love it. I had friends who, like myself, who went to Ivy League schools. I took an Ivy League graduate, and we watched this person over 10 to 15 years versus a person in my spiritual center who was a blue-collar worker. All my blue-collar workers super succeeded all the Ivy League people. They had great relationships, they had great children, and they had wealth beyond these people. As blue-collar workers, they were making $250,000 a year. You're talking 40, 50 years ago, they were making $250,000 as a as a plumber, as an electrician, as a photographer. And the reason being is when you have a high vibration, you have lots of passion. I'm looking at you now versus when I was on the program. You have 1,000,000 times more passion. Yes.
Yeah.
Vibration is really passion in a human form.
Yeah, let's talk about this event that's coming up that people can find out about by going to, and folks, follow closely on this website here. It's very important. We'll be linked. We'll have the link up on our podcast and videocast locations, but it is the truth.com, and that's the you say you have it 3 times. The truth.com.
Yeah,
and
for your Spanish-speaking people, it's called LAVERDADDELAVERDAD.com. La Verdad, the truth of the truth.com. LAVERDADDELAVERDAD.com.
And
I live in Mexico. My wife is Spanish. She doesn't speak English. So I'm always speaking Spanish. Yes.
Well, let me just let the folks know that the event that's coming up is actually coming up as of the hearing of this program. We encourage you folks to find out more about this. The event will be 2 days weekly, starting Tuesday, October 15th, 2024, Wednesday, the 16th, and then every Tuesday and Wednesday of the week. And that will be from 10 a.m. 6 to 6 p.m. 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. There'll be a lunch hour, 3 to 6 p.m. and 2 modules every day. All kinds of great stuff that you're going to find out about. And again, you're going to go to thetruth.com. Again, we'll be linked there so you can find it. Now, aside from many of the folks that are going to be there, who are going to be participating, can you share with us who will be there? And I like to use the word facilitating this special event.
Well, all the ascended masters, Jesus, Sanat, Kumara, Buddha, Confucius, Lord Lanto, Kwan, MaryMagdalen, Jesus, Lady Master Nada, Koot, Hoomi, Saint Germain, Archangel Michael. So the important thing is to be able to bring these energies to an event is a miracle.
Mm-hmm.
I remember, I was in Santa Barbara, and the greatest shaman on planet Earth wanted to meet me. And there was a lady in Santa Barbara who facilitated it. And I was in her house. And I invited all the masters to the meeting with the shaman. She left her own house because she thought the house was going to go on fire. It was so warm energy in her house. She left her own house. Imagine leaving your own house because the energy is so strong. Yeah.
But it was the energy. It was nothing else material. It was a spiritual energy.
It was a spiritual. In the same way, see, everybody who purchased a VIP ticket will be able to receive the video of the event. I'm going to infuse all the energies in the video.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's sort of a legacy for me. I've done over 30,000 radio and television programs in my life. So all the wisdom secrets.
Yeah.
This is really about secrets of life. I'm going to share how to really create wealth. Wealth is about numbers. Believe it or not, Richard, you're a particular number. I'm a particular number. Every human being is a number. If your numbers don't match up, nothing happens in your life. Everything. Before there were words, there was only energy, then numbers. And the numbers combined mathematically to make perfect events in this life. So believe it or not, planet Earth is a perfect world.
Mm-hmm. Well, now, when we're talking, because a lot of folks are looking for, and I remember back in the 70s when I would listen to certain radio programs where they had mediums on, okay, and people would call in and they'd ask their questions. And usually the questions revolved around relationships, job, living where they were living or would be living and so forth, and money. Money was usually at the top of the list or very close to it. And as I began working in this business, as I have for the last 45 years, I had and have had so much fun playing in this industry. And that's the way I put it, playing in this industry of broadcasting, both radio as well as television. I worked for a short time for a TV station. And in spite of the comments that would be made by such individuals, intuitives, if you will, they would say, if you do what you're passionate, you do what you love doing, the money will come. And I'm sitting here and I'm thinking, okay, I'm with you there. I'm doing what I love doing, and where's the money? But this is to me one of the paradoxes that I don't think is really explained, and that is that I like what you're saying, that money or wealth is numbers. A wealth is numbers. But when we start talking about prosperity and abundance, that's not numbers. I worked for 15 years for a Christian radio station. And under the wealth category, I started at $3.65 an hour. Now, this was 1980. All right. Minimum wage. That's what it was. When I left 15 years later, I was making $7.35 an hour. Again, that's wealth. That's numbers. However, there were people who would come into the station, want a job. We would hire them, and then we would ask them, we need you to go clean the bathroom because blah, 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 blah. You guys don't pay me enough to do that. Why should I do it? So, hey, look, I do it. All right. You, from your perspective, they don't pay me enough either, but that's part of the job. And then I thought, okay, I could go down that road of bitterness and frustration and lack, if you will, or I could take another look at what I'm doing and what's happening. And they gave me a time slot on weekdays at 7:30 p.m. to air interviews that I would do just like this one. Now, I could have had you on one of those programs on that Christian radio station, but I would have used the vocabulary that they would be comfortable with. So it was okay. I would do this. And then I began to take a look at that. I did an evaluation regarding abundance and prosperity. Okay. Not wealth. And I said, okay, wait a minute. I'm only making this much, but what am I getting? Yeah, I have a job. I have health insurance and so forth, but I'm getting this opportunity. I'm getting the experience that I don't have to pay for. I'm getting the contacts that I don't have to pay for. I'm getting the materials, whether it's a book or a CD or whatever it is. I'm getting the interviews that I held on to many of them as archives that I'm not having to pay for. And of course, the list kind of went on in terms of what I like to call is eclectic studies that I'm not paying for. And that's why I say when I tell people about that radio station and that income and that job, it was the best education I was ever paid for, because I also learned about sociology, psychology, political science, comparative religions, if you will, and the list of subject matter goes on. And my boss, my present boss, and I did a real cursory evaluation of how many programs as well as interviews that I have done over the 45 years. And it's between 60 and 70,000 programs that I have produced, maybe more. But now I am living in one of the most, I'm going back to the wealth, the numbers area. I'm living in one of the most expensive places in the country, not California, Santa Barbara.
Yes.
And I have been here for 18 years. All right.
Let me show you the difference.
Sure, please.
Okay? And what happened? I'm 4 years old, poor family. My dad had addictions, gambling, drinking. So I made a decision one day. I said, God, I'm not going to be poor anymore. You probably don't remember, I created the first successful law of attraction process that existed in the world 70 plus years ago. So 4 years old, I'm walking on the boardwalk in Venice, California. And I said, God, I need to be wealthy. So first day, pennies. I'm finding pennies on the boardwalk. Second day, nickels. Third day, dimes. Fourth day, quarters. I'm only 4 years old, very skinny. My pockets are full of coins, too heavy for me. So I said, God, the coins are too heavy. I want to find white envelopes filled with paper money. I walked down the street, $200, $600, $2,000. By the age of 7, I was the richest child in the world. I was making thousands of dollars. I had 13 people working for me. That's not an accident. I use the correct processes and faith. So I have what you call empirical faith. So empirical faith creates wealth and abundance. And many people never achieve. My parents, my great-grandparents. So I come from the house of Abraham. My great-great-grandfather was the God of Abraham. How do you like that?
Mm.
So I come up from a lineage of faith and trust in the energy called God. It's energy.
Mm-hmm.
Because of that trust and faith, I was the first person who could make the law of attraction work. The law of attraction wasn't presented until 2006, and I had been using it for 70 plus years by the time the book came out.
Yeah, The Secret, right?
The Secret.
Yeah.
So the real secret has to do with your development of vibration and your real faith and trust. So I never not trust. Never.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We're talking with Dr. Richard London here on Tell Me Your Story, and we're talking about a special event that is coming up, which we will share with you in just a moment as we continue here on Tell Me Your Story. I'm Richard Dugan, and I thank you folks so much for joining us here with Dr. Richard London, who is going to be sharing a very special event coming up on the 15th and 16th for several weeks following that will be available to you. Go to the website thetruth.com will be linked to that website, so it'll be a whole lot easier for you to find it. I want to continue on that path that we were just talking about. I'll share and I'm going to make this very brief because I want your input on this, especially in regards to the law of attraction. And that is this: when it comes to the whole numbers thing, the wealth element, as opposed to abundance and prosperity. I have managed to traverse through three phases. The first one was, I am content. Universe, hey, thank you. I'm content with where I'm at, which is where I've been at for about 18 years. And again, this is not a complaint. This is not, I don't have enough. That isn't it. And then following subsequent interviews, I finally added an addendum to that. I said, I am content and I want more. All right. And I went along with that and it was fine. And I want more, but I didn't really see a whole lot more coming. And I thought, maybe I need to be a little bit more specific. And
Yes.
so I said, I am content and I want more. And I want to start with $100,000. And then I have written down in my journal, I started out by saying, and I will pay off all my debts, and then I'll do this and I'll do that. And then I thought, no. If you are going to be specific in what you're asking for, then you need to be specific in how you're going to use it. And so then in my list, I wrote down, I'm going to pay off my credit cards, and I'm going to pay off the travel trailer. I'm going to pay off the car, and I'm going to get my wife the concierge medical care that she wants. She has a specific doctor who now does what they call concierge service. Yeah. However, it's $3,000 a year. And I said, okay, then I will use part of that $100,000 to get her 3 years, 4 years, 5 years of concierge service, because by the time we get to the end of that 5 years, there'll be another 100 and another 100,000 and another 100,000. So and in the way you described at 4, 5, 6, and 7 years of age, you got more and more specific. And that seems to be the key. But the other part of that key that you mentioned just a moment ago was that you trusted 100%. Go ahead.
So let me give an example. I lived in West Palm Beach, the most affluent area in the world. Mm-hmm. And I would be doing special divine work during the day. Evenings, across from where I lived, was a 5-star restaurant. I would go there in the evening to eat very well. People ended up knowing who I was. I would have a line like going into an ice cream parlor. 50, 60, 100 people waiting in line to talk with me from 18 to the age of 80. They all had questions. So let me explain. Mm-hmm. You know the word synchronicity?
Yes.
You have to be a master of synchronicity to create wealth. As an example, I'm sitting eating and I'm talking to this man in his 80s. He was the inventor He was a chemist, the inventor of the packaging for Wonder Bread. Do you remember Wonder Bread?
I do.
It had a particular packaging. So the bread would stay fresh longer in his packaging. So he made millions of dollars. And I'm talking with them, and he's telling me about his girlfriend that lives in California. And he's describing her. I go, oh, I had lunch with your girlfriend last week. What are the odds of a person in Florida having lunch with somebody's girlfriend in the 80s? The reason I remembered her, she's a woman in her 60s and she drove a Ferrari. Not many women in their 60s drive red Ferraris. That wasn't an accident. Okay. Let me give you an example. When humans come to this earth, they have 5,000 pieces like a puzzle. Your parents, my grandparents never were able to put the pieces of the puzzle together. In this event, part of the process I'm going to do, help people automate their lives, putting all the pieces of their puzzle together correctly. Imagine if the pieces of your puzzle of your life are not together correctly, how can your life exist in a perfect form? It can't. So I've created unlimited wealth and abundance. I'm talking in the billions, trillions, very easily. Like everybody was saying you should invest in gold. This is a good example. I took it the next level. I bought gold mines that were underwater. I have a friend who sells mines. These mines were underwater, so you were able to buy them cheaper. They had lots of gold, but the owners of the mine didn't have the money to clean the mines up. So take things to the next level. Don't think about buying gold at gold prices. Buy gold at the lowest price you can. If you own a mine, you're mining. Gold is very, very inexpensive to mine over a period of time. But the like you can invest $1 billion with a goal of making 20 billion. That's a good investment.
Yeah.
I perfected the mining process. So my mines have a 500-year life. Imagine having a mine that can exist for 500 years.
Wow.
A generation is 50 years. So that's 10 generations.
Right.
People don't do business like that. They make cars where you have to change the cars. They can make a car that exists for 100 years, but it's not economically correct in the business world to do so. Right. Nylons. Do you remember during World War II, nylon was used for parachutes. So they used other substance to make nylons, and they lasted forever. Yeah.
Let me jump in real quick here. I want to ask you to comment on this, and it's, I don't want to say that it's necessarily counter, but I just wanted to have your impression of this, and whether or not this will, for the moment, we'll take it at face value. Okay. This has to do with something that it is said that Jesus the Christ 2,000 years ago said, and it's been, we'll call it documented, having to do with a group of people he's talking to who are moaning, groaning, and complaining about what they're going to eat and what they're going to wear and where they're going to sleep. They're all anxious and worried and so on and so forth. And the long and the short of it was, let tomorrow worry about tomorrow. Know that because you are a child of God, You will be taken care of, just as the birds and the trees and the lilies of the field are cared for. That your Father knows what you need and will provide if you will but trust. To that extent, one of the stories that I had heard a few years back that I sort of kind of lived by a little bit in terms of I'm content with where I'm at, had to do with two gentlemen who went for a walk, and they would stop at a restaurant and they would have breakfast, and Frank and Bob would pick up the check and pull out of his pocket exactly how much he needed. And Frank was, hey, thank you so much. And they went on. And a few weeks later, they got together for lunch. Same scenario, great conversation, great food. And then Bob picks up the tab and pulls out of his pocket exactly the correct amount and so forth. Same thing happens at a dinner a few weeks later. Frank's going, first of all, I'm very grateful that you've been picking up the tab. I thank you so much for that. But how is it that you know exactly how much that the bill's going to be? So Bob says, well, here, let me tell you, I was cleaning out my garage. I came across this dusty old lamp, and I started dusting it off, and out comes a genie who says, you have one wish. And so I said, can I get back to you? He says, sure, I'll be here. A few days later, I come back and I say, I just want to have exactly what I need when I need it and so forth. Okay. And that's how that happened. And I thought, well, what's so wrong with living like that? And the more I thought about it, and of course, as I've said before, I've gone through those 3 levels to where now I'm being specific, and I want to start with the 100,000 because what I want to be able to do, and I've even outlined this in my little journal in terms of how I want to use that first 100,000. The very first radio station that I worked for, I want to give them $5,000 to help with what they're doing, because I believe in the format. It's for the blind and visually impaired. They read newspapers, magazines, periodicals, and so forth to them. And I started there in 1979, and then other things. And that would be the only aspect of it that I would say, well, you can't really do it that way because, and I mean, the mind kicks in. What about this aspect of just trusting the universe to provide instead of being specific and asking for all of these things? Is there a paradox there, a dichotomy there, or is there something that maybe I am missing?
Well, first of all, millions of people, trillions of people have gone into churches asking God for money to save their loved ones, for food. Most of them have never received it. It's all about vibration.
Mm-hmm.
How can you expect the energy of God or Jesus or Muhammad or Buddha to connect with you? That's a false sense if you're vibrating low as a human. So this whole process of you and I being on planet Earth is so we could help people. See, everybody has one purpose. That's to share our wisdom with others. And then you have auxiliary purposes, whatever it might be, to save animals, to save trees, whatever it might be. That's yours alone. So the really key is to know you already have it. So when I was a little boy, I knew I already had it. I'm going to tell you a funny story. So I would hide all my money, and I had lots of money under refrigerators, stoves, you name it. My father would always find the money and spend it to gamble. We lived in a really poor house. We had a hole in the bathroom. I could see my neighbors when I'm going to the bathroom. I like to read when I'm in the bathroom. So I picked up a can of lye. Do you remember when they used to use lye in toilets?
Mm-hmm.
Clean it? It's a powder, white powder. So I'm reading this can, and I'm shaking it, and it's not shaking. There's no sound. I open up. My father had hid all of the money in this can.
Oh, wow.
thousands and thousands of $100 bills in this can. So the universe, I didn't ask the universe at that time for my father to give me the money back. There it was, right in front of me. I never told my father I knew. How do you like that? I never told my parents any of my experiences. They knew I was very successful. Now, remember, at 7 years old, I worked 100 hours. I went to school. After school, I worked to midnight. So you have to put a lot of action, but it has to be positive action. Okay, I remember first talking with you. Your mind was filled with lots of trash. You were thinking all the time, Richard, all the time. How does one expect to receive anything if their mind is filled with trash? How can you receive information from the universe if your mind is already filled up? So I put my wife and we're on special vitamins to clean our brain. So one of the problems humans are having, and which I'll discuss, there are secrets to cleaning your brain. Most people have lots of arsenic, lots of mercury. Why do you think humans are suffering with Alzheimer's? Do you know I can remember exact conversations that I had with my parents when I was 2 and 3 years old? Their clothes, exactly what they say. Imagine that. That's because I'm super clear about everything. So one of the processes that I'm going to be teaching people today, you got to get super clear. How do you expect to create anything if you don't really know what you want? And the other thing is, you love yourself a lot more than when I first met you. You don't need love. You don't need anything. See, when you don't need anything, you receive everything. But the majority of people in the world are really needy. They want, and they want.
Yeah.
Every day I say, God, what can I do for you today, God? As soon as I say that, what can I do for you today, God? The window between God and I opens up and I receive everything. Everything I want to eat, everything I want to experience, the music I want to experience, everything happens. So it's this, people are blocking. There are blocks, many blocks to wealth and abundance in this world.
Yeah.
They don't know the correct numbers in order to create wealth.
Right. We are talking with Dr. Richard London, and we're having a fascinating conversation at this particular point in the program about prosperity and wealth and abundance and having what you need and having all that you want and so on and so forth as we continue talking here on Tell Me Your Story. I'm Richard Dugan, your host, and Dr. Richard London is joining us. We're talking about a special event that is coming up on the 15th and 16th and for several weeks after. You want to go to thetruth.com. We'll be linked to that website so that you can go directly there and find out more about what is available for you. I want to shift over because you've made a wonderful differentiation between the different levels of the human being working their way up in terms of vibration, low to high vibration and so forth. And the only way I feel comfortable doing this is to bring up a specific individual. And this has nothing to do with politics. Okay. This has to do with observation and what you've already described as the low vibration, the human vibration versus the higher vibration, the more divine, if you will. When on June 15th of 2015, Donald Trump came down the escalator and began to express the fact that he is going to run for president of the United States, and then began to basically, this is the best way I can put it, spew out victimhood. which I'd already played that game in the 80s and I won because I don't play that game anymore. And I'm going, well, I certainly don't want you in that office because we're not victims. And as time went on and I began to observe more and more of the words that were being spoken, I'm going, and this goes to your point of the low vibration versus the high. I'm going, there is no way that any human being can continue to spew out the kind of negativity that is coming out for any length of time without suffering adverse consequences to the physical body, physical, mental, and emotional body. And I listen very little today, but what I do catch, I'm hearing the deterioration. And again, this has nothing to do with politics. This has to do with another human being who is destroying themselves by putting out this kind of energy. And whether you believe in karma or Einstein's for every action there is an equal and opposite reaction, that seems to me to be a prime example of, and I did go through some phases in that in regards to this gentleman, where I had to acknowledge that he was being a teacher to me and teaching me how not to be, how not to be. And my concern, again, not political, my concern is that before we ever get to November, there's going to be and I'm not asking for any prediction or anything of that nature, but I'm just saying, I just don't see that there is going to be an individual who is going to be able to do what he claims he's going to be able to do, because he's not going to be physically, mentally, or emotionally capable, because he has been for 9 years, and longer than that, certainly, spewing out this stuff, this toxin. And it's like, I don't want anything to do with that.
Okay, so let me explain. First of all, I always know who's going to be president years before they even decide that they're going to be president.
Okay.
I always know.
All right.
Second of all, in a human universe, humans are allowed to do bad things to move a society forward on planet Earth.
Mm-hmm.
So many people have done great things and moved the universe forward. Many people are doing extremely terrible things in the world today for the sole purpose of moving humans to this higher spiritual level. So what's coming is a new earth. There are 3 cleansings going on right now. Cleansing of humans, cleansing of Mother Earth, and cleansing of our economic system. In the future, because of humans' vibration, you'll be able to create everything that you need. Food, wealth, abundance, cars, you'll be able to create. So you and I are talking. With my energy, theoretically, using a lot of electromagnetic energy and creating atoms, I could create an elephant in this office as you and I are speaking. But I wouldn't attempt to do so because it's not in the order of the universe. To have an elephant in my house, first of all, it would destroy my house to get the elephant out of the house. But it would show people a poor example of power on this universe. You're not supposed to use the universe to create an elephant in your office or in your house. Elephants need to be in their own environment. So we're in a world where we have powerful human beings, not powerful spiritual beings, but powerful human beings who are allowed to do horrible things to impregnate people's minds with the highest level of negativity in transforming these people to believe that there's some kind of God. They are not God. They're just a human being.
Mm-hmm.
You know, heaven doesn't exist anymore. When a person does these things, they go to inner school. They're in inner school. Inner school is where your energies are in constant flux and you're experiencing everything you do in your life. You could be in inner school for one generation, for 1,000 generations, depending what you did in one lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
Humans can create so much bliss and so much terror in this lifetime. We're very, very powerful. That person who you mentioned has created so much chaos in the world. And lots of other people create chaos every minute of the day. Imagine, so one of the reasons you've been having problem with wealth, it's one of your lessons.
Mm-hmm.
You had the love lesson, you had abandonment, and you had the wealth lesson. You're moving out of that final lesson, the wealth and abundance lesson. And then you'll be able to create as much as you would like. It's not about age. I remember there was this lady on Oprah's program, and she wanted certain things in life, and she said to the universe, I'll just wait to my next lives to create it. You never want to wait to your next lives to create it. Everything is about now, the present moment.
Yeah. You know, and I hear what you're saying, especially with those people who are creating chaos, regardless of who they are, what their name is, and so forth. And I can see how through the chaos that they create in whatever form that it takes actually does bring about the evolutionary process, because it inspires, if you will, those of us, myself included, to say, no, that isn't the road I want to go down. And I'm going to share that message with others, not against that person who's creating the chaos. Don't get me wrong. I'm not going to waste my time and energy on saying, don't go that way. You know, no, I'm going to say, look, we have seen what has happened in our own human history to fellow human beings. And we don't want to go that way. So let's choose. And that's why I promote here on this program, looking for those new ways of living, because the old ways don't work. All you have to do is look around you. But someone shared with me not long ago in regards to I refer to them as the institutions. I says, well, you know, do we want to tear down the old institutions and build new ones? And they said, oh, no. You do not tear down the old ones. You build new ones that make the old ones obsolete. And so I absolutely see where you're coming from and what you're saying when you talk about how, in a manner of speaking, and this may be counterintuitive for some folks, it's important for us to have those people of chaos. Because if we didn't have those people of chaos, we wouldn't be inspired to raise our consciousness, raise our vibration. Am I onto something?
Yes. But see, in the new earth, there are no people who create chaos.
True.
So when you make your transition, you'll come back, you'll be fifth dimensional above. I'm like zillion dimension. People don't even know that dimension exists. Spiritual people only know that there are 13 dimensions. There are more than 13 dimensions. There are unlimited dimensions that exist in other universes. And so it's really about being open. So when I walk down the street, I'm open to everything and I receive everything. People who never say hi, say hello to me. I used to go in nature all the time, and wild animals used to come up to me. Animals that could they could kill a human, but they wouldn't even consider to kill me because I'm not food. I'm just pure essence of love. So one of the things is you have to be pure essence of love in every aspect of your life. I have lots of animals right now. I don't feed my animals. My wife feeds them. And I get just as much affection, if not more, from my animals because they like the touch. It's like being in the hands of God.
Yeah.
So I'm going to teach you something. I'm going to have to go soon.
Yes.
Let me explain to you. This is really, really important, which I'll teach in the event. You and God have to be one. See, God isn't way up there and you're way down there. You're not the child of God. You are the son or the daughter of God. The son or the daughter of God. And you and God have to be equal. Humans are not taught to be equal with God. That's supposed to be blasphemy to be equal to God.
Yeah.
That's how you really connect.
Yeah.
That's why the event that I'm having, humans don't have to be present, because if they receive the video and they're able to ask the masters of the universe the 10 questions that have been plaguing them their entire life, that's priceless. Believe it or not, my clients of 50 years or more are paying $1 million each to charity for me to do this event. And they want me to do the event, not for them, but for their friends and associates, so they can move and they can be one with God. You have to be one with God, really one. God is not separate.
Yeah. Dr. Richard London, my guest here on the program, special event coming up 15th and 16th of October and several weeks following. And we encourage you to go to thetruth.com to find out more as we continue here on Tell Me Your Story. I'm Richard Dugan, your host for Tell Me Your Story with Dr. Richard London, who is returning to our program after many years away, and it's just been a pleasure. Well, first of all, thank you so much for giving us so much time here on the program and for sharing your wisdom and your insights. And I hope that in spite of, or maybe because of, the fact that you are in your mid-90s already, that we'll be able to have a chance to have you back on the program again to continue this conversation. It's been a real pleasure. So thank you so much for the time.
It's my pleasure, Richard. It is wonderful to see you again, and I can see God flowing through you, the energy, the spiritual energy of God flowing through you. You've been in a place that you selected and God selected for you so you could move forward. Santa Barbara is a very spiritual place. Very. And I've been there hundreds and hundreds of times. Every time I went to Santa Barbara, every time I go any place, I have a wonderful time. A wonderful time. Well, I don't have bad times.
Well, we're thankful for you being on the program. I do have 3 final questions I ask all of my guests before we wrap up the program. And I'm going to go ahead and ask those questions now. And they are, first and foremost, who is Dr. Richard London?
Well, I would say on planet Earth, I'm a master of spiritual energy and wisdom. I know what the future looks like, physically looks like. I know who's going to be president. I know who's going to be governors. I know all these things, but I don't use that information to manipulate the world. I use it to move people forward in a spiritual existence. So I'm a master teacher. Using electromagnetic energy to create miracles is how Jesus created all of his miracles on planet Earth. It makes sense. How can you turn water into wine? You don't wiggle your nose and magic happens. It's not magic. It's a spiritual transformation.
Right. Right.
So you can learn to use electromagnetic energy to create miracles in your life. And that's been the big secret that a lot of the masters don't teach people. See, I don't own wisdom. Wisdom is owned by the universe, but it's my obligation to share the secrets of life. And that's what I'm going to be doing in this particular event.
Well, we're looking forward to that as well. Second question. What gets you up in the morning?
I love life. I love my animals, my wife. My house is filled with beauty. My house is filled with orchids. I love beautiful things. I have lots of art. I love beauty. So waking up and seeing beauty is foremost to me. And beauty could be someone walking on the street and only has one leg. That's still beautiful to me. See, no opinions, no judgments, no assumptions. Remember.
And the third question. What was your best day?
Every day is my best day. Every day. I create greatness every time I open up my eyes. Even sleeping is great to me. Yeah. Being on planet Earth is really a beautiful place. Other universes aesthetically is not as beautiful as planet Earth. You should treasure every moment on this earth that we're living. Yes.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. I have always asserted that as well. And I thank you so much for giving us this time. And we will again give out that website is thetruth.com. The event's coming up the 15th and 16th of October. That's the beginning of the event. And you can go to that website, thetruth.com. We'll be linked to it as well, so you can find out more about the event as well as about Dr. Richard London, who has been our very special guest here on the program. I want to thank you for listening to and watching Tell Me Your Story. New paradigms for a new world, where we're giving you choices and knowledge of those choices to help make your dreams come true. Just a reminder that the book Choices, 5 Steps for Life is now published. It's available on Amazon in hardcover, paperback, as well as Kindle, with the Audible coming very soon. I'm working on it. I'm going to record it and make it available as well. So I hope that you will go to Amazon. We have a link at my website, richarddugan.com, that you can click on, and it'll take you right to the page where you can purchase a copy. We hope that you will. Thank you so much for doing so. And again, our thanks to our very special guest. And until our next broadcast, podcast, videocast, love to Lal. Jeanette, I am still listening. Dad, continue to be happy, because I am. Smokey, I'll see you on the other side. And to my dear friend Zorro, aho, aho.